stronger students of English are capable of making mistakes, so they don't really have to worry. So my first step is to create a safe environment in the classroom and develop positive group dynamics.
Happy to know that. Getting to know our cohort, getting to know our learner profiles is the first inescapable step. Point well taken. But is there any point where students really won't feel intimidated at all by others? Because as recently as the other day in our own master's course, where there is no problem with the proficiency, where there is no problem with the commitment of the participant, a participant all of a sudden broke down simply because she started seeing her own role, her own presentations, her own involvement within the group in relation to what her peers are bringing to the table. Now, did we even get to know about it? Not really. We kept asking if there is something that we can do for the class as a whole and individual participants. But we never understood till it all reached that stage, piled up in her, and then she opened up one fine day. This happened after 2 months of a particular course. Now, when such is the reality, how much ever we attempt to understand, that's absolutely first first sign of a teacher to in order to minimize the inconveniences faced or the uh, peer pressure that they think of otherwise. Absolutely, yes. But still, we will have multiple reasons which will really not make all of them feel confident with singular set of activities that we want to engage the class in. How much ever we are compelled to deal with the commonly prescribed syllabus, we still need to find our ways of finding supplementary sources in such a way that they wouldn't make them feel intimidated. If we depend, if we depend on just the same set of activities and same set of syllabus textbook, how much ever we as teachers want to help participants, there is always that challenge which doesn't get addressed. There is always something that really prevents them from feeling okay. So now, in such a scenario, therefore, I was just trying to know from our friends. I am very sure that you all also started depending as much as it is students' turn to depend on less on teacher and more on technology. It has also become imperative for teachers to value technology and make best use of it wherever feasible. So in that context, in addition to making use of technology for feedback purposes, like in the way of speaking, for example, from what one of our friends said, how do we make use of it to create activities which cater to multiple learners so that we leverage on the class heterogeneity, diversity as a strength, but not see it as a limitation? That's the most essential question, because it's easier said than done. What we have been discussing is not something that we never thought of, but we had reasons or excuses to really leave that task for somebody else. For example, it is certain certain special education programs which lay emphasis on creating individualized educational plans. Do we have such a concept of individualized educational plans within our B.Eds, M.Eds, D.Eds, or any other trainings? Not really. How often do we speak of the need for individualized education plans? We don't, because that's whole lot of work in itself, and there is a resistance from teachers if we get into those zones. And there is also a inherently present belief in all of us that it is special education teacher that needs to deal with certain things, and therefore we don't have to get beyond our convenient zone when we want to explore the domain of the area of individual differences. For example, we all speak within our psychology of learning course in B.Eds on individual differences. We all experience heterogeneity, people from multiple cultural backgrounds and multiple prior learning experiences in our classrooms. But what efforts are all of us expected to take, or in what ways are we all trained to really understand that concept of individual differences and meet the requirements of heterogeneous learners? So I'm trying my best to communicate whatever I intend to. It's one thing to understand, and it's one thing to understand the presence of heterogeneity. It's another to really get there and act on it. Now, there are several layers to acting on heterogeneity or mixed ability classes. One is, from our own discussions, we understood that if there is a will, there is a way. So the first step for a teacher is to really be willing to understand what those profiles are in our own classrooms and context, so that we will at least start reflecting on what our homework is, right? We can't take for granted all 50 as one bundle, but there is something called homework. And somebody said, use the word reflection. So to reflect on there, this serves as a food for thought. Our awareness on the profiles in our own class will help us understand what to reflect on, so that we know how to help them all, right? Having said that, how do we, if not at our own individual capacity, make use of other expertise around us in the form of psychologists or in the form of special educators, so that we make our learning complete, and we also go one step above our own formal trainings that we received? Because no trainings that we receive can really focus on all these aspects around individual differences and heterogeneity of the class. It's one thing to acknowledge the presence of heterogeneity, and it's totally different to really handhold and be through the thin and thick of their learning journeys. It takes a lot. And I'm certain that there are many good teachers who really put in these put in all the effort that is needed and help different participants with different needs and handhold them. But in a nutshell, the trainings as such that we have at this point would not help us go all the way there to be open to creating multiple kinds of activities, and to also take some more cues from others who have expertise on dealing with the heterogeneous classrooms. That's the whole point. Now, we all know there is technology that would help us create multiple activities just like that. Now, can we, it is good enough even if we start using appropriate prompts so that we get different kinds of activities for our own classes. But I also appeal to all the entire group here to whenever whenever you think of your class next, please do bear in mind that there is always more. If you are, when you are thinking of that one student or those 2 3 students who reach out to you, and when you recognized that the need itself is very different, there is a bit of learning and unlearning from our parts in order to openly see what objectively see what needs they come with, so that we prepare ourselves based on those lines rather than offering whatever we have as the treatment. Be open to finding new ways of treating these issues, and that requires uh, a whole lot of undoing from our end. Yeah, that's the point that I was trying to essentially drive home. Now, when we just think of multi-level tasks, for example, quickly, I would just ask Malvika to share her own experience when she conducted a study on prompt literacy, and how qualitative prompt will help us with quality output when we are trying to make use of technology for generating multiple activities. Now, will this address everything? Not really. But is this good enough as the first step so that we as teachers stop thinking that it's a huge concern and problem that is beyond our scope? We, at least the technology helps us stop that thought process, and that's a good enough change. Yeah. So over to Malvika. I'll just ask her to share her own experiences on prompt, importance of prompting right, and then creating multiple activities.
Thank you, sir. Um, is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it's with QR code, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So we thought of asking you to scan the QR code and yes. Yes. Okay. So since sir already talked about the do's and don'ts in a classroom, in a multi-level classroom, we will now talk about how technology can be used to make the classrooms and the work of teachers more easier so that we can focus more on learners directly instead of like spending a lot of our energy and time in creating tasks, or as ma'am said, to give feedback. So here I am going to share one of the feedback given by Elsa Speak. Just a minute.
Please show those different prompts and ask them to rate them.
Yeah, we'll do this.
This will take some time.
Okay.
Prompts and then multi-level task creation.
Okay. Okay. So first we'll look at the uh, prompts that we were talking about.
Show those three.
Okay. Is my screen visible now?
No, nothing is there on your screen, ma'am. No. Now it's okay, ma'am.
Okay. So
So your screen is not visible now, ma'am.
Yeah.
We are not getting your screen.
Okay. Just a minute, ma'am. I'll try sharing it again.
Prompts in one screen.
Yes.
All three.
Yes.
Just get their views on which one is better for them.
Conventional.
Can you share this on chat?
I am doing that, so.
It's
Mm.
must be.
Is my screen visible now, ma'am?
No, ma'am. No.
Share those in the chat.
Yeah, I'll share it.
15 minutes.
Okay. Now?
Now we are not getting anything onto the screen, ma'am. We have got your screen, but yeah, now it's okay, ma'am. We have got it.
Okay. So there are 3 prompts here. 1, 2, and 3. Please go through these prompts and tell me which prompt would give a better output. Is the screen visible?
Ma'am, number 3.
Number 3. Why would you think so?
Number 3. Because the prompts are appropriate and I'll get the designed lesson plan according to my requirement. If I'll give the first one, it will be vague. So I have to choose the best out of it. So if I'll give this prompt, I'll get to the point lesson plan.
Okay. Yeah, right. So we asked ChatGPT all the 3 lesson plans and also asked to rate the prompt quality and also give the appropriate outputs. So ChatGPT rated the first prompt, create an English lesson plan for Indian students at different levels, include some activities and a worksheet. So ChatGPT rated this prompt as a low level prompt. And the lesson plan that it gave was very vague, as ma'am said. The duration was not specified and the level it has taken its own level. And the tasks that have been given is very vague. We still have to work on each task and then create worksheets appropriate to our learners. So I'm just scrolling through the tasks, if you can look at. So it's not very detailed. We still have to work on it. And the second prompt that we gave, ChatGPT rated it as a medium level prompt, mid-level prompt. And this, what is the difference between the first prompt and the second prompt? In this, there is the time, the duration of the class included, and the mixed ability Indian classroom, as in the level of the learners and the ability of the learners has been mentioned, and the topic is mentioned. Previously, the topic was not mentioned. And there is definitely a change in the quality of prompt that has been, quality of prompt as well as the quality of responses that we received. Because it has given worksheets that can be directly used in the classrooms. But in the third one, ChatGPT rated it as a high quality prompt where it has clearly given the objectives that are aligned with CEFR also. And it has also generated a minute by minute lesson plan. So we conducted a research using with the help of 15 teachers before prompt literacy and after prompt literacy. We gave them 2 tasks to create a lesson plan and to create a worksheet. They gave the prompts which were in the low quality or mid quality prompts, and the lesson plans were analyzed. After that, we gave them instructions on how to give better prompts, better quality prompts, and then asked them to create gave the same questionnaire to create lesson plans and worksheets. And we analyzed that the quality of prompt does have an effect on the quality of answers or worksheets that are being produced by ChatGPT. So this is the lesson plan that was created by ChatGPT for the third prompt and worksheet. Worksheet is also very detailed. It also has an assessment checklist and homework suggestions. Right. The next one that we'll be looking at is, so we'll go through the, yeah. Is my screen visible?
No, ma'am.
Your screen is not there, madam. Please check.
And now, ma'am?
Yeah, we have got it
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
We have
So, adding to what ma'am said, when ma'am said she uses AI for feedback sessions, here is one tool that I personally loved working with is Elsa Speak. So we asked participants to speak for 1 minute on one particular topic. In this case, we asked them to talk about a story that is well known to everyone. So the person spoke about the hare and the tortoise, the story. We recorded it and uploaded in Elsa Speak, and it has given the overall speaking score of the learners as well as the individual and personalized feedback on fluency, grammar, and vocabulary. So the overall speaking score of the learners is 63%, which has also compared with international tests and frameworks like CEFR. Right? It is given very specific feedback on fluency, pace score, pausing score, and hesitations. Also, some tips to improve the fluency. Like take time to pause at the end of complete sentences or after key ideas. That is one tip. Never interrupt the flow. It is common for English learners to stop speaking when searching for a specific word. To avoid interrupting the flow of conversation, use the language you know to describe it. So these personalized feedbacks will help learners to understand where they are making the mistakes, and they'll be able to improve it. One more thing is, if a teacher says the same feedback, they might, as ma'am already said, learners might feel offended. But if the machine does it, they will not feel that. The second is grammar. There is AI recommendations also for grammar. Your grammar in the here, you can go through this. And it also has given an example where the speaker has made a mistake. It says the speaker has said a hare and tortoise, but grammatically it should be a hare and a tortoise. So it's specifying where the mistakes have been made by the speaker. And personally, the vocabulary is one thing that I love the most because it gives vocabulary distribution according to the CEFR framework. For the talk given by this person, it gives the vocabulary distribution from A1 to C2 level. So we see that this person is an intermediate, upper intermediate learner when we take the average of all the words that has been used. And it also has given the top performances. So some vocabulary used by the learners were moral, estimate, nap, hair, and taught. So these things. And also, again, the vocabulary used by the learner and what is the vocabulary that can be used in place of that to improve the level of the proficiency levels. So for example, when the learner said story, AI is suggesting to use the word narrative or tale to sound more proficient in the language, right? And it also talks about use of informal language. These are some examples on how we can use AI to give feedback. Previously, we discussed on how to use ChatGPT prompt literacy for teachers. And this learners can use on themselves, where teachers can be a facilitator and guide them on how to use these particular tools.
Thank you, Malvika. See, as much as there are concerns that we hear everywhere about students using mobiles in the class or students copying stuff when they are given a asked to give a written submission, uh, there is also need for teachers, us as teachers, to depend on uh, the technology for good. Now, while we encourage, as we encourage using both for learners and for teachers, we could have our own caution exercised. So how do we make use of this for bridging that content, bridging that, using it as to bridge the content gap? For example, we have only one text, one activity. How do we use technology to, in no time, create multiple versions of the content and multiple possible activities, so that we use technology not for the heck of using, but for having 5 different groups of learners have, work with 5 different activities on within a same class. This was earlier not very viable for us, but now it's easy. Now, so addressing individual differences is not easy, and this helps us with the first step. Once we uh, recognize the diverse needs of our own target group. Having said that, will AI tool help us cover the entire ground? Not really. For us as teachers, there is always that role uh, of that emotional support that is needed. Like in the example that I gave, it's not that she is unaware of using technology, or she is unaware of uh, uh, uh,
Excuse me, sir, we are not getting your voice. Excuse me, sir, we are not getting your voice.
Is it a problem even now?
Yeah, even now we are unable to have your clear talk, sir. We we could get some sound, but your voice is not clear.
One second. I'll just conclude.
Even now
Not
it is
much to
not
say.
clear. Yeah, it is not clear, sir.
I have nothing much but conclude by saying it is not just enough if we understand that we have different learner needs in our class, but it's equally even more important to take the next actionable steps. So to that extent, AI technology does help us, but is that a solution is that a complete solution? Not necessarily. That has to be used, leveraged as a complementary tool along with our own emotional support and wisely guiding the learners through and also upskilling ourselves on different aspects so that we reach a point where we not only empathize with the learners learning needs but also practically help them out, handhold them to realize the goals those are really needed. Yeah. So on that note, I thank you all for patiently hooking on to the call and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Now I request at least 4 or 5 participants to give a feedback on today's session.
If there are things for discussion, we can take that up for another 5 minutes or so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I request Ashok sir to take over. Ashok sir. I request Ashok sir to take over.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm ready. Okay. Sir, good morning, sir. I am Ashok Kumar, an assistant professor of English from English Division of Leclerc Baladi College of Engineering. Thank you so much, sir, for your fruitful and valuable insights that you have given us. So, I would ask all the participants to come forward with your questionnaire. Any doubts, please raise some questions so that sir is ready to give the answer. Please, all the participants, if you have any doubts, you can raise your doubts.
Altogether, there are 72 to 80 people on the session. I request you to clarify your doubts or have some extension of discussion with Professor. Professor is ready to answer you.
I am happy that unlike many sessions, there are participants who are willing to share their own experiences so that it turned out to be dialogic here and there at least rather than being monologic and monotonous. I appreciate the participants on that front. If there are things for further discussion, we can continue that. That long silence must
Sir,
convey.
Sir, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So what I've understood from this session is that no matter how much we try as teachers to, to give our best in the heterogeneous classes, each batch is different from the other. And for example, I travel a lot. So one day, 1 month I'm in Jaipur, another month I'm in Patna. So the demography is totally different. And so ultimately depends on the sensitivity of the teacher and the empathy of the teacher in conducting these heterogeneous classes. I've understood from your session, sir.
Absolutely, and that when apart from that, there is a concerted effort that is needed
Exactly.
on our part.
Exactly.
For example, when we realize that individualized education plan perhaps is something that we need to also peep into and then unlearn some of our own assumptions and relearn certain new things. How do
Exactly.
we do it? So your sensitivity and empathy is the first beginning step, but there is more work as a professional after that
Right.
because, as I said, most others are also empathetic, but
Yes.
they won't want to take up that extra work of unlearning some of their own assumptions and upskilling themselves, right? So that's the
Right.
most important next step that has to uh, continue
Right.
over and above this understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Sir, it seems no one is responding, sir. Can we just
Yeah, we can close the session
thank you, sir, with all
based on.
your permission. And I personally thank you, sir, and Malvika, ma'am. And I shall hand over the session to Mrs. Sridevi. Mrs. Sridevi.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. As we come to the close of this wonderful fifth session of our faculty development program on multi-level classes inclusive, it is my pleasure and propose the vote of thanks. First and foremost, I express our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Dr. C. Ramamuni Reddy, Assistant Professor, EFLU, and also Ms. Malavika ma'am for sharing your invaluable insights and expertise. Your session has been truly enriching and thought-provoking, and a special word of appreciation to our organizing committee, coordinators, technical team for their meticulous planning and smooth conduct of this session. I would convey a special thanks to the participants for your active involvement, questions, and your active participation. You made this session truly interactive and meaningful. Finally, let us all carry forward the learning from today's session and continue our journey of professional growth and collaboration. Thank you, one and all. Let us meet again for the afternoon session at 2 o'clock, sharply at 2 o'clock. 2 to 3:30, we have one more session, that is sixth session of this FTP, and it will be followed by valedictory.
Thank you all and all the best. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.